Welcome to OurSport. I'm your host, Larry. John, as always, doing the recording and editing. The two playoff games are in the books. LSU crushes Oklahoma, but the big story is Clemson breaking Ohio State's heart in the Fiesta Bowl. Clemson takes down Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. This was an extremely close game. This is exactly what we predicted. These teams have equal strengths, which is everything. They're good at everything. And the biggest difference, I think, was adjustments by Clemson. J.K. Dobbins, 2 huge runs. He's the focus of the run game. After that, he got hurt somewhat, but Clemson defenders stayed in their lane. You got to give him credit for those long runs, but he's really kind of held in check before that. In between those 2 runs, I should say. So they took him out of the game. He's the focus of the run game. And Justin Fields was hurt, their quarterback, Ohio State's. He couldn't run either. On the other side, this was a very impressive job by the Ohio State secondary containing these massive prototype first-round pick pedigree receivers. Justin Ross, T. Higgins really did not do a lot in this game. Clemson didn't have a lot of separation. You could tell Ohio State a lot of times was a more talented team at some positions. Now, the referee calls. Shaun Wade's hit on Trevor Lawrence, Clemson's quarterback. This is a legit call. All right. He put his helmet in the other guy's helmet. You can't do that nowadays, whether he meant to or not. He hit him so squarely. You have to make that call. You have to eject Shaun Wade. The Justin Ross play, on the other hand, Justin Ross took about 4 steps and then fumbled that ball. Now, if you see it live, it happens so quick that you don't think so. But when you see the replay, he catches the ball and takes 4 steps. If that's not a football move, I don't know what is. But is that the reason Ohio State lost the game? Maybe, but it's not the whole reason, because they sure had their chances. First of all, they get up 16-0. They get down to the red zone. Almost every time in the red zone, they have to settle for 3. That was a killer. And then, after they got up 16-0, Clemson outscored them 29-7. That was a 29-7 run by Clemson, who made the adjustments. And when it really mattered, Clemson had to go 94 yards and had to get a touchdown. And they flashed all the way down the field and did it. Clemson was resourceful. The Buckeyes were holding Travis Etienne, the Clemson running back, in check. He had a huge year. He didn't do anything in this game on the ground. And Clemson said, fine, we'll find other ways to beat you. We'll throw screens to him. We'll use our quarterback, who should not be outrunning the entire Ohio State defense, and have him outrun the Ohio State defense. Clemson was gutty, resourceful, found a way to win. But really, if you look at the last play of this game, the last meaningful play beside the kneel down, what happened on this play is that Justin Fields is dropping back to pass. He's going to hit the Buckeyes receiver, Chris Olave, on a post. And he's going to go right in front of the Clemson safety, and he's going to score a touchdown. Because he did it earlier in the game. This is one of the earlier touchdowns in the game. They got the same matchup. They had the same look. But Olave thinks that it's a scramble drill and breaks to the opposite direction and leaves a clear lane right to the Clemson safety, who intercepts the pass and ends the game. Fields had thrown 1 interception the entire year coming into this game. He threw 2 in this game. Isaiah Simmons baited him on a play earlier and got him. On this one, you really can't blame Fields. It's not his fault. And I'm not going to blame Olave. You want to know who to blame? Let's start by blaming Ryan Day, the Ohio State coach. Because why do you have this in your offense? Why do you have this where a receiver's going to be wide open? He could see there's nobody there to impede him. He could just cut in front of the safety. Why do you have this kind of adjustment? What's the point of it? Do you need a scramble drill? And this is maybe overcoaching. And overcoaching cost him the national championship game. Now, Day's talking about plays that determined the game. And he made allusions to this, that the referee calls determined it. Maybe. But how about this? Stop settling for 3s in the red zone. Stop not being able to stop Trevor Lawrence in the run game. This guy should not be running down the field for 70-yard, 60-yard runs and beating your defense. And the Ohio State defense completely shutting down these great Clemson receivers. They did so many things right, but the stage was too big. The stage was too big for them. For Clemson, Clemson's been here. When they were down 16-0, Clemson wasn't going to quit. Clemson wasn't going to lay down for them or for anybody. and they showed a lot of resilience and a lot of heart. So let's not minimize Clemson's effort, Clemson's heart, Clemson's will to win in this game, because they had a lot of things that they were comfortable with that got taken away from them. Now, I think the best player on the field was Justin Lawrence. I think the second best player on the field, and I got to give John props for this because he had as an All-American, I didn't, was Jeffrey Okudah, the corner from Ohio State. He was blanketing whoever they put him on. They put him on some talented players. But Trevor took over the game, and when they needed him, Trevor went down and won the game. Clemson, their culture, their inherent will to win, their determination, their fight, you have to have so much respect for them. You don't want to say that Ohio State lost the game. You have to give Clemson credit that Clemson won the game. Ohio State made enough mistakes, sure, and let Clemson hang around. But Clemson took advantage of it. Clemson said, you know what? We're going to keep fighting. We're going to make it tooth and nail. And if you have any slip up, we're going to come in. We're going to take this game from you. We're going to earn this win. And they earned this win. A fitting representative from the Fiesta Bowl to the national championship. Clemson is going to represent themselves well. I believe it. I think everybody believes it. And they earned this win. Let's remember that. We have to give them the credit that they were due. Ohio State, they got some bad calls, maybe, sure. But I'm glad Ohio State fans are interested in proper referee calls. I'm glad that this is a point of interest for Ohio State fans, that they want to respect the integrity of the game. And that's what's important to them right now, is how good referee calls are.
Well, I'm sure you are.
And were they wrong?
Are they wrong?
I think they're wrong 100%. Sometimes they're wrong. Always wrong. Well, I would say my wife tells me I'm wrong all the time. Wrong. Wrong.
That is
wrong. And he did the wrong thing. Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Proved over and over again.
Wrong.
He actually
Wrong. It's wrong.
They were not hired. And here's why he does it this way. Let me explain why he hires.
Jeb is so wrong.
He said no.
Wrong. So wrong.
That is so wrong.
down the
wrong.
national debt.
Wrong.
You're advocating.
Wrong with that money.
Wrong. Very nice words, but happens to be wrong.
We have one more question from Ken Bone about energy policy. Ken?
Wrong.
Well, I'm sure you are.
So, our second game, Oklahoma, the Sooners, play LSU and the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. An absolute joke of a game, an absolute travesty in terms of effort by Oklahoma. You cannot tell me that, I don't remember what the final score, what was it, John, like 63-24?
All of it to zero.
All of it to zero. And at some point, I think it was, I don't remember, it's 49-7. They could have named their score. This was a pathetic effort by Oklahoma. You can't tell me that LSU is this much better than you. You're a playoff team. You won your conference. You lost one game. The story is LSU and how unbelievably dominant they are and what a android Joe Burrow is. But it's also how pathetic Oklahoma is. Come on, you got to do better than that. And you wonder why the Big 12 has a reputation of being soft. Games like this. They were never in this game. I mean, from the kickoff on, the stage was too big for them. And you would think that they would have learned something from the Alabama game last year. No, they got down 28-0 in that game too. So let's stop talking about these losers who choked their way out of a game they had no business being in. I mean, Georgia outplayed you. The Georgia Bulldogs, who struggle against anybody with a pulse, had a better representation than Oklahoma, and they had no receivers. Georgia's receivers all had torn ACLs. I mean, they almost had John at receiver out there. So let's give LSU credit, because I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow. I'm trying to remember a single season where I've seen a player play like this at the quarterback position. I'm trying to remember a single season where I've seen a player play like this at any position. And I'm going back to maybe Reggie Bush winning the Heisman in utter dominance. Maybe Charles Woodson. Maybe a handful of players I've ever seen. Cam Newton is one spectacular there. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable what he's doing. And when I had keys to the game before, I did not mention anything about the opponent, what they could do to Joe Burrow in our last episode. Wait, keys to victory. I didn't say you should play man against them, or you should play zone against them, or you should pressure him, or you should back off, because nothing works. Nothing works with this guy. I mean, you give him a 3-man rush, he's going to sit there all day and he's going to find somebody. If you blitz him, he's going to hit a quick step drop, a little one-step drop. The ball's going to be out in a second and a half. He's going to hit a slant. Ball's out. If the pressure finally gets home, no problem. He'll just evade it. Does it all the time. All the time. And if you've managed to flush him to the sideline, if you get him out of there where he's got to be to the point where he has to throw the ball in a bad position, doesn't have his feet set, throws the ball off platform, 1 foot in the ground and leaning to the side and just winging it, 3/4 sidearm release. Yeah, no problem. No problem. He can do all that. LSU didn't have much of a running game. Their main running back was hurt. And this defense does look different than the LSU defense I'm talking about than a couple of weeks ago. And man, if they can play any kind of defense with this quarterback, I expect a really good game. I expect Clemson to really, really represent themselves well and this to be a close game. In our last episode, I did say that I thought the winner of Clemson-Ohio State would be the national champ. And I'm going to have to backtrack on that because I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure anymore because the LSU's got the Terminator over there at quarterback. John calls him an android, I think. What do you call him?
Machine.
A machine. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous what he's doing. And I think if he plays at this level, if he goes another 31 of 36, with 83 or whatever percent completion percentage and 6 touchdowns and no picks, and you can't pressure him, you can't hit him, I don't see how anybody can beat him. You're playing perfect football from the most important position in the game, which is the quarterback position. Still expect it to be a great game. We're going to have a whole show to preview it and give you the keys to victory for both of these teams. And I have to point out something else on a side note. Me and John had a long segment about the Dallas Cowboys before, about a 20-minute segment. And it looks like they're going to have a new coach unless there's some sort of absolute miracle with their season right now. And one of the people that's been talked about for years is Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, the head coach, as coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, the Dallas Cowboys should be about winning big games. That's what that program should be about, winning Super Bowls. This coach has no NFL experience, and does he look like a big game coach to you? You can lose these games. You can lose to Alabama and LSU. They're great. You can lose to Joe Burrow. You can lose to Tua Tagovailoa and Nick Saban. But you can't go out here and just bad. You can't go out here and just look this terrible in these games. That's not what a great coach does. So, the Cowboys fans, John, if you want this guy, more power to you. No, I would. If I'm going to take a chance on a college coach, I'm at least going to take Urban Meyer, who at least has won something. At least, crazy as it sounds, make a run at Nick Saban, or go get an NFL coach who's played in NFL games. A little side note, I thought it was important because Lincoln Riley, he looks like a big fish in a little pond. He's preying on hapless teams in his own conference. Baylor, who's just outmatched but well coached. Texas, who's not outmatched but is poorly coached. The Iowa States of the world, who should never ever beat Oklahoma but have already done so once under Matt Campbell. That's what's going on with Oklahoma, and Lincoln Riley needs to stay in Oklahoma. It's where he belongs. All right, John is here. We're going to talk about the Independence Bowl, which is Louisiana Tech beating Miami. This was a 14-0 game. Louisiana Tech scored a touchdown with about a minute and a half left in the game. It was actually a 7-0 game most of the time. And we're going to talk about the Miami Hurricanes because, man, this is weird to see Miami like this. It's really strange. Now, I told John about Miami. We talk about college football history a lot. I tell him about these teams, respectively. And at some point, he's going to think I'm just lying about some of these teams because I'm keep insisting. Tennessee used to be good. Michigan used to be good. Miami was actually really good for a while. Now, you might not. Florida State has been good in your memory, at least, despite what they look like now. Yeah. Okay. So it's just strange to see Miami look like this. It's strange to see Miami. This is the first time a Power 5 team has been shut out by a G5 team in a bowl game. And Miami, I know they have quarterback issues. I know it's been a revolving door.
And offensive line issues.
And offensive line issues. And but they are 130th in the country in third down conversions. And for the life of me, with the inherent advantages they have, the local talent, you could recruit in your car from Miami. You could recruit on a bicycle from that campus. It's a stone's throw from all these powerhouses that produce talent in that area. And for them to be last in the country in third downs, among a bunch of other problems, makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Miami finishes with a losing season. Your thoughts?
They got a new coach this year, head coach Manny Diaz. He was the former defensive coordinator for them, and he produced a lot of great defenses for them. The guy initially came up with the turnover chain idea, I believe. His defense was like second in the country, first in the country, just some great Miami defenses. And so after Rick
At turnovers.
turnovers.
At turnovers. I don't know if they were first or second in the country on defense, but they sure were.
No, they were great defenses
tackles for
overall.
loss. They were good tackles for loss.
Great defense.
Right.
But as soon as Mark Richt left, they promoted him to head coach. So, of course, as a defensive-minded guy, offense was the bigger question than defense. But the team he was left is just not... Say what you want about Mark Richt at Georgia. Those teams were very talented, above all else. He might not have known how to develop that talent, but you see Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's 230 pounds, 6'3", looks like a track star, right? Todd Gurley looks the part. All the Georgia players look the part under Mark Richt and now, right? And he gets there, and the recruiting is just... It's not like Miami's that much of a drop-off from Georgia. In fact, they might be like even better place to recruit than Georgia. As you said, you could recruit there from your car.
Right.
And he was left a team that was thin.
At some spots.
At some spots was thin. It's very weird. It's like recruiting takes effort. Recruiting takes a lot of effort. It's almost like Mark Richt just didn't try at Miami.
You know, his recruiting, I don't think was that bad. I mean, you look at some of these guys. Have you seen Greg Rousseau?
Mm-hmm.
That guy, the length he has. He kind of reminds you of the Penn State defensive end. And on one side of the ball, on the defense, they did play pretty well. But you see some of the dumb they do. You have to edit that out. I'm sorry. You see some of the dumb things they do. You know, like they're losing, and Louisiana Tech has an incomplete pass, and a one of Miami corners. He can't wait to get in that kid's face. He can't wait to taunt that kid. You're embarrassing yourself on TV. It's not like you're killing this team 28-0. You're losing. You're playing horribly. Got to taunt the guy, though. Got to make sure you get in his face.
That's worse than you, that you should be beating.
Swagger, yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're Louisiana Tech, and we're beating you. Yeah, you're Miami. You got to remind Louisiana Tech that you're beating them, but you're not even beating them. You're not even beating them. But you got to remind them that we're the U, you know. We're the U a lot, Tech, and don't you forget it while you beat us, 7-0, 14-0. Don't you forget that. Makes no sense. Makes no sense they're this bad.
Just a frustrating game for them. Just frustrating. So many opportunities with the ball, and then as time's ticking down, you have less and less. You're like 7 minutes left, 3 minutes left. They have to do something on this drive, and it just never.
And Louisiana Tech has the ball, 3 minutes left, 7-0, and you realize they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game. They're going to shut Miami out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, some things we got to talk about. He did a lot of reading on Manny Diaz. He knows him from his sister. I think he used to be a Louisiana Tech defensive coordinator, of all things, among other things. Manny was very successful everywhere he went, except for one stint as Texas defensive coordinator. They played Taysom Hill and BYU, and they got run on for 400 yards or something.
500.
What?
538.
530. And Taysom Hill he's a great player. And they had kind of struggles in the run defense a lot of that year. I don't know if he was the scapegoat or if he just did a bad job. That one incident kind of dropped him down. He bounced around to some of his usual places he'd been affiliated with. So let's say this is a year zero for Manny. The problem is that he had been on staff with Richt about 3 years or so and had gone to take the Temple job from Miami. And he was there about 20 days when Richt suddenly retired. Might have been retired, may have been fired, and they brought him in. So it's not like he had no experience with the program. He was actually on staff for 3 years, recruited a lot of these players. Now, you could say defense was his baby, and, recruiters will recruit people who are not in their position. The defensive coordinator will recruit quarterbacks, things like this. But that was maybe not his specialty to evaluate offensive talent. And the defensive talent, they do have some players.
Yeah.
But they're probably going to be in the market for a transfer quarterback and probably some offensive linemen. The receivers and running backs from Miami seem like there shouldn't be an issue, but man, 0 points. There's 0 points.
Defense does not play that bad.
No.
I mean, it is Louisiana Tech, so I mean, you expect to hold them to a low point, but they really scored 7 points. Your defense held them to 7 points.
Right.
And the defense was not the problem in this game.
No.
It's just complete offensive collapse.
And let's give Louisiana Tech some credit. This is a 10-win team. This is the first time this program won 10 games since they moved up to the FBS. Skip Holtz, who did a really good job at East Carolina, kind of flamed out at South Florida, and kind of reinvented himself here. He's been here about 6 or 7 years and been doing a really, really good job. And nobody talks about him because he just kind of, when you have this, when you rise up as a coach and then fail and go back down, people don't talk about it. Nobody talked about Charlie Strong this year.
Nope.
No, he didn't help because he continued to do poorly. But since he's got to Louisiana Tech, every year they're in a bowl. Every year they win a bowl, pretty much. His bowl record is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a bad confluence of events for Miami. So Miami we talked about. Let's talk about somebody else on the disaster trail. The USC Trojans. Played a more formidable opponent than Louisiana Tech. Played an Iowa team that had three potential first-round picks, both and on the line of scrimmage where it matters. Their left and right tackle, Alec Johnson, Tristan Wirfs, respectively, and defensive end AJ Epineza. That's not very professional now. Defensive end AJ Epineza, my All-American, not yours. And but now USC has a potential first-round pick as well. Austin Jackson, the left tackle, and Epineza gave him a heck of a game. Okay, overall though, USC should have more talent than Iowa. Yeah, this game, and Iowa kind of pulled away, and it was not really that close of a score. USC, for the life of me, I don't understand how this program ever is not in the top 10 with all the advantages they have. This is the easiest job in the country. I don't know why anybody ever fails at this job, looks completely incompetent as a coach, and they've had a run of coaches that cannot do well at this job. Now, the thing to say is, I'm going on a rant, but I'm making a point, which is, well, how can you say that? How can you say that, it's supposed to be a great job when a bunch of these coaches in a row have failed? Well, because when you see a coach that hits, when you see a coach like Pete Carroll or John McKay, they dominate. They dominate their entire conference. Nobody's close to that conference except for occasional speed bump. And they're on a national level, and they're winning national championships, and they're just blowing teams out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this goes back all the way down to Howard Jones.
I mean, we've talked about this a little bit when we talked about Urban Meyer. We talked about USC. But the amount of just natural, inherent advantages you have with that program.
Right.
You are west of the Rocky Mountains. No one can recruit with you. I mean, Washington maybe every now and then. But overall, you have more history than them. You have more culture, more tradition. You are right in L.A. You are in California. One of the best, if not the best recruiting state in the nation. No one else can recruit for you. People have said it's more like drafting than recruiting there. You take who you want. There's a whole 15-state area here where you just have your pick of players, and you can just rack up guy after guy, just, half-backs, wide receivers. Loaded.
And you talk about some of the players they had. They haven't had players who are great. They've had all-timers. They've had the Ronnie Lotts of the world. The O.J. Simpsons I'm talking about on the field now. Okay. The O.J. Simpsons of the world. I'm trying to remember a better college running back I've seen than Reggie Bush. Like, when they do get great players, they're amazing players. And this, in the early signing period, I think they finished 78th in the country in recruiting.
Never should ever never
Inexplicable.
happen. This is just
inexplicable. No. And I know that, they talk about, well, the coach might be fired. But that's happened before, where coaches have been on a hot seat and still come in with a good recruiting class. And this just makes that. We're not talking about not only recruiting, but things that help you in recruiting. Tradition. Amazing tradition. How many USC players get to go to the pro? How many Heisman winners they have?
Yes.
Have you seen our cheerleaders? I mean, it's in LA, right? I mean, it's just so many things to help you. A big enough stadium to care about football, but not enough pressure from the alumni to get you fired, obviously, after having down years. This job is so many things to help you win. Or against your competition for recruits. Nike University with their gimmicks. Really? You're in LA. You're going to get a guy from Washington, from Seattle, 1,200 miles away to leave LA to go play in the rain? That's a good. Washington's a good program. They got some tradition. You don't compare to USC. This makes no sense at all.
And they do have some talent. They do have some talent on the offensive line, lines of scrimmage. Their wide receiver core is elite this year. Vaughns and Pittman both are great. Pittman might be one of the best one-on-one matchup wide receivers in the country.
He's something.
Just knows how to use his body. He's up there with Higgins and Nico Collins in terms of just like one-on-one jump ball guy.
Length.
Vaughns is incredible athlete. I mean, just track guy, cracks ankles every time he touches the ball.
I'm on St. Ra.
Yeah.
The third guy. They weren't even going to some of those guys. They were going to the auxiliary weapons in this game, still moving the ball. Your quarterback, he gets hurt early. Your backup quarterback had transferred. Keaton Slovis, freshman, third stringer, 500 yards against UCLA. No problem.
That's how it should be at USC.
That's how it
you
should
should
be.
have your third quarterback is a PS8, right? Who's a 4-star.
You're talking about the Phil Steele rating system, or he like a PS number, like be the 8th ranked quarterback in the country.
Oh yeah,
People don't know
Just,
PSC, right?
The 8th ranked quarterback in the country,
Right.
coming in out of Los Angeles, right?
Mater Dei High School.
Mater Dei High School.
Right.
Your third string guy, your first 2 guys go out. You can shove him in and put up
Right.
500 yards because he's throwing to guys who have 15 yards of field wide open.
But you see it. You see it when you watch this game because Iowa has a receiver for the life of me. It's my fault. I should some kind of hyphenated nickname. Iowa always has a hyphenated nickname receiver. Okay, guy gets a reverse, gets a rushing touchdown. Guy gets a catch, gets a receiving touchdown. Guy breaks open a 98-yard receiving touchdown. He's one of the few athletes, athletic at the skill positions, who could compete with USC on this field. Later on, we're just going to leave him one-on-one.
That's just terrible coaching.
It's just terrible coaching.
terrible
Do you not? This guy has just killed you. Do you not know this guy can play? So Iowa has this one guy that they have to cover. It's pretty clear. He's the only skill position guy that's killing them, and they don't do it. This is not the first piece of coaching malpractice. We've seen it on the sideline from USC. We're talking about clock management. We're talking about all these things. This job is clearly over this coach's head. And you could always have this at USC at least. If the coaching job was too big for you, at least you had the skill. At least you could at least roll in a top 10 class no matter how much you were struggling. And now they're, I think it was 80 at the beginning of signing day, the early signing period. I think they finished like in 72nd. They rallied. They kind of picked it up. So this is, if they ever, we talked about this with Urban Meyer, if they ever get a competent coach who's aggressive about recruiting, this team is you talk about the ultimate sleeping giant. And we don't want to say sleeping because, well, that sounds like they've never done it before. Like A&M's like a sleeping giant, maybe. Mm-hmm. This is a snoozing giant. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And at any point in a 2-year period, they can do what Pete Carroll did. Pete Carroll's first year, I think they were 6-6. Mm-hmm. The very next year, they were like 12-1, won the Rose Bowl. The year after that, won the national title. That fast. That can happen in a place that has so much inherent talent as USC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As always, thank you for watching this episode of Our Sport. From me and my father, we'd like to thank all of our weekly viewers who tune in every week, our subscribers. If you want to become a subscriber, click the subscribe button down below and the notification bell to get notified of all our uploads. We upload every week. We'll be here every Sunday. Come in, join us anytime you want. If you like this video, hit the like button and leave a comment on any kind of conversational piece, topic, or team, and we'll be sure to cover it on next week's episode of Our Sport. Also in the description box, you'll find other ways to come into contact with us. We have a Facebook page, Twitter page, email. It's all going to be down there, as well as our inaugural episode. If you want to hear more about what we're about here, you can go ahead and watch that. And as always, from me and my father, thank you.